Sharma welcome you all to the closing ceremony of PCGT National Youth Parliament 2022. Among us, we have our chief guest, Honourable Justice Gotham Shirish Patel, Mr. VP Raja, Chairman PCGT, Mr. Julio Ribeiro, Chairman Emeritus PCGT, Dr. Navshika Duara, Principal of Praveen Gandhi College of Law, Mumbai, Professor Kavitha Sharma, Assistant Professor at Praveen Gandhi College of Law, Mumbai, and Faculty in charge of NYP, the Executive Board members of all committees, the Organizing Committee for PCGT National Youth Parliament 2022, and all our parliamentarians. Public Concern for Governance Trust is a registered trust founded in 2002 by Mr. Julio Ribeiro, Dr. R.K. Anand, and late Mr. B.J. Deshmukh to increase public participation and activism towards creating a more transparent and efficient governance systems. In order to sensitize and mentor the youth in ethical values with emphasis on good governance, PCGT started the Youth for Governance program in 2019. PCGT organized its maiden edition of the National Youth Parliament in 2019, and now we are back again with the fourth edition of the PCGT National Youth Parliament. Every year, PCGT National Youth Parliament is organized in association with Praveen Gandhi College of Law to strengthen the association between PCGT and PGCL, and an MOU was also signed between PCGT and PGCL last week. Shri Vilepale Kelwani Mandal SVKM is a public charitable trust. The SVKM has always been committed to the cause of providing high quality education at various levels. The SVKM's Praveen Gandhi College of Law (PGCL) was established in 2004 and is affiliated to the University of Mumbai. PGCL aims at giving students exposure to experiential learning in various fields of law and in this regard have conducted various workshops and seminars. I now request Ms. Rachna Verma, the Vice President of PCGT National Youth Parliament 2022, to give us a summary about the National Youth Parliament and what transpired during the 2 days of this conference. Over to you, Rachna.
Thank you so much, Tisha. I, Rachna Verma, the Vice President of PCGT NYP 2022, welcome you all to the closing ceremony. Public Concern for Governance Trust is a non-governmental organization that strives for transparency, accountability, and good governance. Keeping this vision in mind, PCGT organizes a plethora of events every year, and one of such events is the National Youth Parliament. The National Youth Parliament began in the year 2019 and has hosted 4 successful editions, the NYP 2022 being the 4th one. Each year, there has been intellectually stimulating and fruitful deliberation upon all matters relating to the socio-political and economic scenario of our country. We at PCGT feel that it is extremely important for the youth and future student leaders in all education institutions to deliberate upon such topics, and the National Youth Parliament gives a platform to do so. This year, we are proud to say that this is our largest edition with around 200 delegates, and we have hosted 6 committees, which include Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, Maharashtra Legislative Assembly, Press, All India Political Parties meet, and All India Stakeholders meet, out of which AIPPM and AISM were school committees. Talking about the past 2 days, we have had some quality discussions in various committees. The Lok Sabha discussed on the agricultural and farmer situation in India, and solutions were given for reforms in the agricultural sector. The Rajya Sabha had discussions on public-private partnership as a resolution to economic challenges in India and the future of public-private partnership in India. MLA was one of the most energetic and active committees, so kudos to all the delegates of MLA who discussed on the implementation and functioning of the state-wise climate action plans. The agenda for AIPPM and AISM was deliberation on police reforms in India and discussion on primary and secondary education in India with special emphasis on NEP, where the young minds of the country gave their views and suggested solutions for the police reforms and ideas for the implementation of the new education policy. Lastly, it is not an easy task to get so many delegates and to organize such a big event. So a big shout out to our organizing committee, which comprised of around 13 members divided into various departments such as research, delegate affairs, delegate outreach, public relations, and designs, who have worked immensely hard for 11 months to make this event a great success. And this conference would not have been possible without our organizing committee. We are also grateful for all the feedback that we have received in the past 2 days, and we'll surely ponder it upon next year, which will help us to do better. Thank you so much, and we surely hope to see you all next year too. Now, I hand it over to the host to continue with the closing ceremony.
Thank you, Rachna, for giving us a summary of how PCGT National Youth Parliament started and what transpired during the 2 days of this conference. Now, moving forward, we have Mrs. Kavitha Sharma, who is an assistant professor at Pravin Gandhi College of Law, Mumbai. She has been an academician for the last 20 years. She has worked as an in charge principal at Law College in Sanganer for 6 years before moving to Bombay. Kavitha ma'am has completed her education from Nagpur University in Masters in Law and Masters in Human Rights and is also a gold medalist in this field. She has also presented papers at national and international forums. She has been the faculty in charge for PCGT National Youth Parliament over the last 3 editions. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Honourable Justice Patel, Honourable Ribeiro sir, respected VP Raja sir, all the trustees of PCGT, my principal Dr. Naushika Dwara, all the student coordinators, organizers, student participants, and teaching, non-teaching staff of Pravin Gandhi College of Law. This has been a wonderful edition, the third consecutive edition to our National Youth Parliament. And I am glad to share that recently we have also signed a memorandum of understanding with PCGT. So the bond which was already there, we have strengthened it by signing this MOU. It was followed by a guest lecture by Mr. Raja, which was thought-provoking and which stirred emotions in the students' mind, that how they can contribute to people's life and for the nation building. This edition of NYP, when we were listening to the participants, it gives me confidence that the future is not all bleak. Our students are well read, they do a lot of research, and they are very well informed. And platforms like this give them opportunities to learn, grow, assimilate information, and learn to become even more responsible citizens. I am really thankful to PCGT for giving this wonderful opportunity to be associated with this National Youth Parliament and many other such programs that we organize in collaboration with PCGT. I'm also thankful to my principal, Dr. Naushika Dwara, Vice Principal, Dr. Suman Kalani, and my teaching and non-teaching staff for their continuous support. And this all would not have been possible by the continuous efforts of all the organizing team members who relentlessly worked hard to make it a grand success. 200 participants. It looks very good on paper, but it looks even more, it looks better on the screen, but I know how much of hard work these students have put in for getting each participant distribution of portfolios, whenever the query comes, being ready for all the solving of the queries and everything that is required to make it a huge success. I am indebted to the organizing members. Even on a Sunday and yesterday, from 9 o'clock till 8 o'clock, and today also from 9 o'clock till 8 o'clock, they have been continually glued to their screens without even moving. I have been observing them since yesterday. Kudos to you guys. And thank you for making this a grand success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. We are delighted to hear from you. Your guidance and support for the organizing committee has ensured that we have 2 day comfortable days at PGCL. As we are in an association with Praveen Gandhi College of Law, Mumbai, which is a premium law college providing high quality legal education in Mumbai, the head of the institute, Dr. Navshika Dwara, has always lent us a helping hand and has been a pillar of strength for the entire team. Dr. Navshika Dwara has a plethora of qualifications, including BA from Guwahati University, MA and PhD from Mumbai University, and also holds a diploma in Russian language. She is a perfectionist who is very particular about her work, but is also a friend when you need her. Apart from her qualifications, she has been an inspiration and guiding force for everyone at Praveen Gandhi College of Law. Dr. Dwara has presented papers at national and international conferences. She has also been an alumna of the US State Department and visited the US as a delegate. I now request Dr. Navshika Dwara, Principal of Praveen Gandhi College of Law, Mumbai, to address us. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Tessa. Am I audible? Am I
Yes, you
audible
are.
enough?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes. Thank you so much. In the beginning, on behalf of PGCL and PCGT, I extend a warm welcome to our honorable guest, Justice Gotham Patel. We are indeed honored to have you with us. We are thankful to you for accepting our invitation and agreeing to grace the occasion. I also extend a warm welcome to all the trust members of the PCGT, and I would like to put on record my sincere appreciation to the organizing team of who made this event successful. And I can see so many small school children who have participated in great number in this event, and that speaks a lot about the success story of this fourth edition of National Youth Parliament. I will not take much time. Only one thing, when I was looking at the speech with Justice Gotham Patel will going to deliberate, agreeing to disagree, it's a central part of politics. It's an inevitable part of politics. But like Rousseau has said, disagreement brings out the differences as to what should be right and good, and that should be taken as a starting point for coming up with a kind of a workable solution about shared opinion which will be good and which will contribute to well-being of the social order. With this, I would hand over to Justice Patel to go ahead with the rest of the proceedings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your kind words and your support.
Thank you.
Moving forward, we have Mr. VP Raja, the chairman of PCGT and trustee in charge for the National Youth Parliament. He has played an immense role in guiding us and ensuring we have everything we need. After obtaining 2 postgraduate degrees in physics from Delhi University and Columbia University, respectively, Mr. Raja joined the Indian Administrative Services in 1974 as an IAS officer from the Maharashtra cadre. Sir has always worked in various assignments at district, state, and center. In recognition of his outstanding contributions to the administrative reforms, while working as a collector of Satara and as Transport Commissioner Maharashtra, he was awarded the Distinguished Government Administrations Award. With the Government of India, Sir worked at the Ministry of Human Resource Development, the Planning Commission, the Ministry of Defense, and at the Department of Atomic Energy. He retired as a principal advisor to the Department of Atomic Energy in September 2008. Thereafter, he was the chairman of Maharashtra Electricity Regulatory Commission for a period of 5 years. Concurrently, Sir was also the chairman of the Expert Appraisal Committee of the Ministry of Environment and Forest of the Government of India for appraising of new projects for coal mining and thermal power projects from the point of view of their environmental impacts. I now request Mr. VP Raja sir to address us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Tisha, for your very kind words of introduction. Justice Gautam Patel, my colleague trustees in PCGT, Dr. Daura, Kavitha Sharma, all the participants in these last 2 days of the various committees of the National Youth Parliament, and friends. At the outset, I'd like to convey the greetings on behalf of our main leader, Mr. Ribeiro. Mr. Ribeiro telephoned me about 10-15 minutes ago to explain that even though he would have very much liked to be there, he's not able to join us in view of his health at the moment. He's going through a little kind of a bad patch. So even though he would have very much liked to join us, he has specifically requested me to convey his best wishes and convey his greetings to Justice Patel. Now, thanks to Google, social media, etc., these days, all of us have the facility of looking up the background of various people. And of course, I knew about Justice Gotham Patel, but yesterday and today morning, I did a Google search and saw his background. And I find that we have a common interest in matters of environment, that in his early legal career, he has done a lot of work on environment-related issues. Today morning, I also heard one of his speeches with the title Dissent in a Liberal Democracy, about 45 minutes. I heard it fully and I was very happy to hear it because the views of PCGT, which is an NGO, match with the views expressed by Justice Patel in his talk, Dissent in a Liberal Democracy. PCGT, has already mentioned, is working towards transparency in governance, accountability of everybody involved in governments in all the wings, whether it is the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, public servants, requesting for accountability and transparency. So we take the Right to Information Act quite seriously, and one of our staffers spends a lot of time with our monthly interns, teaching them, not merely teaching them, but helping them how to become responsible citizens. Because we do believe that the right to information is a powerful weapon given to us. In the talk, Dissent in a Liberal Democracy, towards the end of his talk, Justice Patel also refers to RTI and expresses the apprehension of trying to water it down. He makes a very important point that it's something given to the individual to make the state accountable. And obviously, the RTI, the Information Commission, is not to act on the wishes of the state or words to that effect, which completely tallies with what we believe. As we are living through interesting times, where the very idea of India is getting questioned, and in such a situation, we in PCGT, we don't preach or sermonize, but we are interested in making young minds in schools and colleges question, understand various sides of a debate, and make up their own minds tentative as they grow. But think, analyze, see, acquire the skills to debate an issue from various points of view and the so-called frameworks from which they are made, and then develop that thinking habit, which is what particularly higher education is all about. And it is as part of this process that we have various verticals, a vertical of couture, that is something more which is done with school children, and then the Youth for Governance vertical, where we try to inculcate leadership qualities and inculcate the ability to look at a point from, look at an issue from various points of view. The National Youth Parliament, as already mentioned, is the 4th edition of that. And we have always benefited by having outstanding personalities who, by their very kind of presence, they act as icons and models for the youngsters to follow. In the first edition, we had Justice Sri Krishna as the chief guest. In the second edition, we had Justice Madan Lokur. In the third edition, we had Justice A.P. Shah. And we are very pleased, immensely pleased to have you, sir, Justice Patel, to kind of give your ideas, give your views, and motivate the youngsters from our schools and colleges. We are all looking forward to your words of wisdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words and for making us more aware about PCGT and RTI and for encouraging us to be more responsible citizens. PCGT National Youth Parliament would not have been possible without one pillar strength, Mr. Julio Ribeiro, Chairman Emeritus PCGT. Unfortunately, sir won't be there with us today due to his ill health, but he has conveyed his blessings and wishes to the entire team and warm regards to our chief guests and also his apologies for not being there. Moving forward, it's our honor and privilege to have Honorable Justice Gotham Shirish Patel as a chief guest. Honorable Justice Gotham Shirish Patel is a graduate from St. Xavier's College and Government Law College. He started his practice in 1987 in Mumbai, working on commercial, corporate, and civil litigations, and also appearing in a large number of environmental public interest litigations, including those relating to Sanjay Gandhi National Park, protection of mangroves, town and country planning issues, Mehlghat National Park, the mill lands, protection of open spaces, etc. In 1994-1995, Mr. Justice Patel received the first international fellowship at Pacific Energy and Resource Center, California in environmental law. This included coursework at the University of Berkeley's Port Hall School of Law and an internship with Sierra Club Legal Defense Fund. He served as the honorary secretary of the Bombay Bar Association for 2 3-year terms from 1999 to 2005 and served on the association's standing committee till his appointment as a High Court judge. From 2008 to 2011, he was a part-time lecturer in administrative law, constitutional law, and environmental law at Government Law College. Mr. Justice Patel wrote a weekly newspaper column in the Mumbai Mirror for 3 years. He also contributed articles and reviews to Economic and Political Weekly, Time Out Mumbai, and Mumbai Reader, etc. Mr. Justice Patel has previously served as a trustee on several public charitable trusts and foundations in the field of education, environment, and hearing impaired. I now request Honorable Justice Gautam Patel to speak to us, agreeing to disagree, some thoughts on parliamentary discourse. Over to you, sir.
Good evening. My thanks to PCGT for inviting me this evening. It is a privilege. For 2 decades, PCGT has addressed itself to the question of governance. It is steadfast and uncompromising in its work, and central to its vision, I think, are 2 precepts: integrity and dialogue. Their vision is of a body politic where good governance is assured in a corruption-free environment, where there is space for for a plurality of views and where there is always time and space for a discussion. In a word, a truly parliamentary system of governance. I will miss our dear friend, Mr. Julio Ribeiro, today. My family and I wish him a speedy recovery, and perhaps in an age of surveillance, he would remember that we are watching and praying for his speedy recovery. It's also a pleasure to follow in the footsteps of Justice Sri Krishna, Justice Lokur, and Justice A.P. Shah, all of whom I count among my friends. Two of them were, of course, judges of my own court. We take this word parliament for granted, but every so often we would do well to pause and consider the origins of the word itself, and then pause again to remind ourselves of the history of a parliamentary system. We must go back 11 centuries or so to, of course, the year 1066 and to northwest France, specifically the Duchy of Normandy. That was, of course, the year of the Norman conquest, when the Duke of Normandy, later William the Conqueror, invaded and conquered Britain with his enormous army of Norman, Breton, Flemish, and French troops. At the legendary Battle of Hastings, William defeated Harold II, the last Anglo-Saxon English king. And while we are there, do see if you can lay your hands on that marvelously entertaining book by W.C. Seller and R.J. Yeatman, 1066 and all that, A Memorable History of England. This conquest brought to England a dialect of the old Norman French language. That dialect was Anglo-Norman and was used extensively in England. The word we know today, parliament, has its roots here in Anglo-Norman. A fairly straightforward lineage to the old French word parlement, meaning, and this is important, discussion or discourse. And parlement itself is drawn from parler in French, meaning to talk. If you are at all familiar with parler, as in parlez-vous français, or the military term parler, spoken as parler or parler, and not to be confused with the homonym used in wagering and gambling, you know at once that it all centers around one thing: discussion. Parliaments, though under different names and descriptions, are very ancient. Some trace these as far back as 247 BCE to Iran at the time of the Parthian Empire, following the conquest of Persia by Alexander. Others argue that the Islamic Shura is very similar to a parliamentary system, but this is still a matter of much debate. In Europe, of course, our thoughts go to Greece, and to Athens, the crucible of democracy. There we see democracy's most important institution, the Athenian Assembly. And from here we cross over to Rome and the Roman Republic with its legislative assemblies. Pause. Democracy, republic. And come with me now straight to our own constitution, forged many years later, many centuries later, and its opening words in its preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Democratic republic. Two words that are freighted with a meaning that informs everything we are today. the voice of the people, the demos, and their role in governance, their commitment to self-governance. And republic, the primacy of the rule of law. What law? That law which is forged and made under the Constitution in assembly. What assembly? The House or Houses of Representatives. Whose representatives? The people, the citizens. And how is that law made? By Parliament, in Parliament, by discussion and by debate in assembly. Our present system originated in Britain. It is that system that our Constitution explicitly adopts. It departs from the British model in one fundamental way. It adds a second layer of parliaments at the state level, and this is in keeping with the Constitution's adoption of a federal model. Therefore, as we all know, we have what are effectively parliaments at the state level and at the union or central level. We call the central one our parliament, and the ones at the state level our state legislatures. Both are bicameral. There are two houses in each, a lower and an upper, though these may be somewhat archaic and even unfortunate. They are akin to the House of Commons and the House of Lords, but here we know them as the Lok Sabha, the Assembly of the People, and the Rajya Sabha, constitutionally not the house of any lord, but a council of states, also with representation, with the majority of its members elected by the legislatures of the states and the union territories. Make no mistake, the Rajya Sabha has an equal footing in legislation, except in some narrowly defined areas. What is it that these houses are supposed to do? The Parliament is our highest legislative body. It is a legislature and it is an assembly. Remember again the roots in ancient Greece and ancient Rome. Our legislature, this assembly, has therefore the sole authority to make law. The central parliament makes laws for India, and the state legislatures do it for each state. Going one level below, there are broadly similar setups with or without bicameral systems at municipal or village levels. We must remember this. It is the legislatures that make laws, not the executive, that part of the government that enforces the law made by the legislature, and not the judiciary, which adjudicates legal disputes and interprets and applies the law made by legislature. Hence the famous doctrine of separation of powers, the three limbs or branches of government, and hence too the seventh schedule to our Constitution, one that was in this structure an inevitability. For this defines the areas on which only the central legislative may make law, the ones exclusively in the province of the state legislatures, and the ones on which both may legislate. There is, therefore, a historical and a constitutional basis for this three-way division of authority or power. While each branch has a broadly defined remit and a scope of authority, all also have the responsibility to resist the omnipresent temptation to trespass. The executive often wants to legislate. To be sure, there are constitutional provisions that tell us when the executive can or may legislate, and to what extent and subject to what limitations. The temptation is always to exceed these. Legislatures are often faced with calls to act in ways that fall within the realm of the other two. And the judiciary has the hardest job of all to stave off demands that it take executive action or that it legislates. There are many instances when one or the other has succumbed to such temptation, and this is invariably a mistake. More importantly, it undermines a constitutional necessity, one that demands the imposition of a self-discipline. Not every social problem has a legislative or a judicial solution, nor is executive action always a complete answer to even an emergent issue. There is another force in play here too. This is the fourth estate or the fourth power, a reference to a free press. Its rights are also constitutional and are to be found in Part 3 of the Constitution, the portion that deals with fundamental rights and specifically the right to free speech and expression. This includes freedom of the press, one that is subject only to constitutionally defined narrow limits. The fourth estate, by description and definition, arises from that very classic doctrine of separation of powers between the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. In olden days, these three were the so-called estates of the realm: the clergy, the nobility, and the commoners. Or closer home to our parliamentary history, the three estates of parliament in Britain: the lords spiritual, the lords temporal, and the commons. Apparently, also Thomas Carlyle would have it, Edmund Burke coined the term in 1787. Carlyle wrote that Burke said that there were three estates in Parliament, but in the reporters' gallery yonder, there sat a fourth estate, more important far than they all. Carlyle himself built on this in 1837, when he described the press in these words: "A fourth estate of able editors springs up, increases, and multiplies, irrepressible, incalculable." The fourth estate is, uncomfortably for the other three, something of a shape-shifting thing. The old traditional print journalism form remains, but increasingly there is another avatar, what is now called the networked fourth estate. It is this that is most feared by all three branches, who see it something very like a werewolf, and it is most feared because it is apparently uncontrollable. I wonder if you have by now discerned the twin underlying threads that run throughout. The first is that this is at its essence about the law, its formulation, its interpretation, its application, its enforcement. And the second is equally important, that at every level and at every stage and in every one of these four estates, it is about discussion and debate, or in a word we now know, about the old French concept of parlement, of speaking. Civil discourse is directed to increasing awareness and enhancing understanding. It is a core element of free speech, a right guaranteed by our Constitution. It is about discourse or conversation or dialogue. It is meant to support, not undermine, the greater social good or the public interest. Let me tell you what it is not. It is not about insult. It is not about foul language. It is not about threatening physical harm. It is not about attributing false motives. It is not about derision and contempt and denigration. It is always about being civil. As Justice Chandrachud of the Supreme Court once said in one of his decisions, the discourse of law is the discourse of civility. And this too has ancient origins. and goes back to Cicero in Rome, who spoke of the societas civilis, or civil society. That meant an adherence to certain immutable standards of conduct, and it meant that speakers should conduct themselves in a way that subserves the greater good. Civil here does not mean mere politeness. That is a question of form. It is about behavior, one that must be directed to furthering a common cause, the greater good. And from this, there emerge two cardinal precepts. We understand that discourse means an exchange of thoughts or ideas. Exchange itself contemplates that these thoughts and ideas may differ. Therefore, fundamental to a discourse, and consequently fundamental to a parliament, or to any structured system where people are required by their job descriptions to parley, is the concept of disagreement. That is to say, of dissent. If everyone agreed on everything, there would be nothing to discuss and nothing to debate. There would be no basis for any parliament, nor any need to parley, and then no need for any parliament. And we would have neither a democracy nor a republic. The second precept is of, yet it is equally fundamental. It speaks to this. Who is engaged in this discourse? By what authority? By what right? And for whom is that person speaking? All three branches of the government are, even in a strictly formal sense, servants of the people. Remember that at least the legislatures exist as elected representatives of others, litigants for the judiciary, and the larger body politic for the fourth estate. Of a litigant before it. And for whom would the press exist, if not the reading public? As we end the fourth edition of the remarkable PCGT National Youth Parliament, I would like to invite our young, and some are indeed very young, and presumably future parliamentarians, to spend some time with a compendium that I believe is astonishing in its scope, breadth, and diversity. I speak of the Constitutional Assembly debates. Again, our keywords return. Constitution, Assembly, debates. This was a very large body, and importantly, its members were not all trained in the law. They came from many walks of life and from widely and wildly different parts of the country. They did not speak with one voice, but for weeks and months and years on end, they addressed themselves to a fiendishly difficult task, a problem from hell, of forging for our newborn nation a charter for its future. They debated. They discussed, they argued, and yes, there were times when tempers ran high. I will accept that the final version of the debates may be somewhat sanitized, but you will not find anywhere a record of pandemonium, of physical aggression, nor of threats or invective. Civility was key. It was not just the norm, it was the invariable rule. Please do read these for an understanding of how, through a truly civil discourse, there emerges something incredible in its sophistication, elegance, precision, and profundity. Our Constitution is very nearly future-proof. Imagine what it takes to achieve that and to get it through a process of dialogue, discussion, disagreement, and dissent. And read too when you can and whenever you can the great parliamentary speeches both here and overseas. And do find time for a diversion into humor. The exchanges between Lady Nancy Astor, arguably the first woman MP in England, and Sir Winston Churchill, for instance. She is supposed to have once said to him, "If you were my husband, I'd poison your tea." To which he replied, "Madam, if you were my wife, I'd drink it." All in Parliament. And since we have the advantage of television, return to some of the finest parliamentarians in our land. You will find, I believe, that every one of these shared some hallmarks: a complete mastery and understanding of facts, concision and precision in formulating arguments and propositions, accurate and demanding questions, felicity of language, and above all, civility in conduct. Shouting and invective, threats of violence, these are the refuge of the incompetent. Physical disruptions of the parliamentary process, no matter how high tempers may run, is rank irresponsibility. It is not only a colossal waste of time and money, but it is an abandonment of the very rationale of the parliamentary system. It is a shame that 70 years on, we still have no means of curbing disruptions and stopping this waste. Is destroying furniture an argument? Does walking out further a discussion or a deliberation? If there is one thing that a parliamentary system is not about, it is brute force tactics. We are all citizens. We all vote. But we do so in order that our elected representatives should engage in that which we put them there to do, to engage in civil discourse and dialogue and debate, all of it directed to our greater social good, our shared good. Anything that does not advance this purpose is simply wrong. There is no place for it. As those young men and women who participate in this year's National Youth Parliament move on in their careers and lives, I would respectfully commend to them that they should never forget this lineage, this process of history that has brought us here. The journey to our present system has not been easy. It is drenched and saturated in blood and toil, and it has survived attempts to eviscerate it. Our parliamentary system in this democratic republic is a thing of real value and of tremendous resilience. It is not to be suborned, and it is not to be abandoned. The future of our nation, our collective future, depends not just on our youth, but on how our leaders of tomorrow choose to conduct themselves. And also the choices they choose to make. To one side lies the path of parliamentary democracy and the rule of law. On the other is chaos, uncertainty, and possible tyranny. I have trust in our young parliamentarians that they will make the right choice, that they will choose wisely and well, and that wherever life takes them, they will always ask this one question of themselves: what is the right thing to do? Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom and providing the historic perspective to the current developments, and for providing and making us aware about the facts of the preamble and the constitution and legislature. and also for encouraging us to be the better leaders for tomorrow. Thank you, sir. Moving on, I now invite Leah Montero to take over. Over to you, Leah.
Thank you, Desha. Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Montero, and it's wonderful to see all of you present here. Let's now move on to the most awaited part of the ceremony, the awards distribution. Once the awards are announced, we request the best parliamentarians and the best reporter to share their experience with us. The cash prizes for the winners are as follows. Best reporter, rupees 3,000. Special mention, rupees 3,000. High commendation, rupees 5,000. The best parliamentarian bags rupees 7,000. And the best delegation wins a whooping rupees 10,000. Along with which, all winners will be given an internship at Public Concern for Governance Trust. Without further ado, our first committee for today, the press. Mr. Nate Puri served as the Chief of Press, along with Ms. Shravya Dula as the Deputy Chief of Press. I now request Mr. Nate Puri to give us an overview of the press and announce the awards. Over to you, Nate.
Hi, sorry, am I audible now?
Yes, you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you. First of all, very hearty congratulations to the entire executive board, to the secretariat, the organizing committee, and the trustees that we have over here present from PCGT on successfully conducting and organizing the 4th edition of the PCGT National Youth Parliament. It feels wonderful to chair the committee that was my introduction into the realm of youth parliaments and model United Nations. And I thank Bianca and Shivam for giving me that opportunity. Insofar as this year's press committee was concerned, we had a number of reporters covering the 5 different houses and committees that were before us today during these 2 days. And it was a slightly daunting task because 2 of those committees were school committees. And for the reporters, it is a challenge not to produce a written record, a written report of the deliberations and discussions, but to understand and pick those specific instances, to collate through all of the content that they've collected, those bits and pieces that would end up making the crux of their report. There is a lot of content that is very easily available through these sessions, considering the fact that there were 2 sessions yesterday and another 2 sessions today, lasting many hours. However, to sift through all of the collected content and understand and realize what parts of it can be used and can be conveyed in the simplest manner, so that everyone who is reading it, may it be a layman, may it be someone from another community, from another committee, they're able to understand it properly. That itself is a task and a challenge. And the way the reporters presented their written records was extremely energizing and refreshing for me and Shravya to go through and read. And the kind of learning curve that we've seen them go through, from the reports that they submitted yesterday to the ones that they submitted today, as well as the kind of questions that they came up with for the delegates during the press conference, was extremely rewarding. When it comes to judging, Shravya and I had the opportunity to sit through and mark all of the reports, and it was a very, very close competition indeed. Without further ado, I would love if Shravya could unmute herself and we could collectively announce the winner, because handling the press committee, it would not be possible, nor would it be half as fun had Shravya not been the deputy head of press. So Shravya, if you're here.
Hello. Thank you, Nick. You being too kind. It was all your effort. I was so glad to learn how a press committee works under you, and I'm really grateful for that. So,
without further ado, let's jointly declare the best reporter of the PCGT NYP 2022, who is
the best reporter is Balkrishna Pandey.
Congratulations, Balkrishna.
Congratulations to the winner. Our second committee is the All India Stakeholders Meet. The All India Stakeholders Meet was a school committee. Ms. Komal Mekhala served as the moderator along with Mr. Ansh Sharma as the deputy moderator. Ms. Gunjan Singhania was the scribe along with Ms. Mansi Murali as the organizing committee member for this committee. I now request Ms. Komal Mekhala to give us an overview of All India Stakeholders Meet and announce the awards. Over to you, Komal.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right, thank you, Leah. I'm sorry I cannot switch on my camera. I'm not in the best of health, but I'm so grateful to be here, and congratulations are due to the entire organizing committee, the secretariat, and the trustees of PCGT National Youth Parliament 2022. Shivam Jain Kakadia, Bianca, this is all the fruition to what we started back in before the pandemic. And my long-standing bond and association with PCGT still stands strong, which is even before the pandemic. And I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and a big congratulations on the big success of this conference. Moving on to my committee, the All India Stakeholders Meet. I must say, since it was a school committee, I've chaired a lot of school committees, but this is by far the youngest lot of school kids that I've had the opportunity to chair. And I must say they've surpassed even a 12th grader, an ideal 12th grader, in the kind of diction and research that they've portrayed in these 2 days. I think they came with very limited resources, but the kind of enthusiasm and participation that they showed in these 2 days was really commendable, and I really admire them for how adaptable they were to understanding the ins and outs of the procedure, and proving to be a real good asset to in the near future. The AISM discussed about the new education policy, and these were 7th graders that were going to be impacted by it, possibly impacted by it in the near future. And I think it really it struck close to their heart when they started talking about it, because they were talking about instances that impacted them on a day-to-day level, even on the larger picture. And I really admire them for showing up, participating, and doing their best, really. So thank you everybody for having me. Thank you to everybody who turned up in the committee. And I also would like to thank Gunjan, the scribe, who helped throughout, and my deputy moderator, Ansh, without whom this conference and this committee wouldn't have been possible to run so efficiently. So Ansh, I would like to hand it over to you to announce the awards.
Hello. Yeah, so AISM was a very great committee. Like, the amount of quality of content and the arguments that they made was really great. So without further ado, I'd like to announce the Best Parliamentarian Award goes to Ambarish Rai. And verbal mention in particular order goes to Dr. Bullaki Das Kala, Lina Ashar, and Dr. Shantha Sinha. Can we have a round of applause for everyone? Can everyone just spam that clapping emoji?
Congratulations to all the winners. I now request the best member to share their experience.
I would like to thank all the moderators and judges who felt me capable enough to receive this prestigious award. It was a great, unique learning experience for me. I learned what is AISM, what are delegates, and how to speak in a parliament. I feel highly privileged and thank the PCGT Association and I respected Poonam ma'am for giving us this platform for discussing, interacting on various topics, and working together to find solution by respecting each other's perspective. I thank you all once again for bestowing me with this such an honorable and a special award.
Thank you. I also request the best reporter to share their experience.
Am I audible? So, first of all, I would like to thank the guests for taking out time from their busy schedules to be here. Thank you so much. The organizing committee that made this entire thing possible, it was a great learning experience. Then there's Mr. Dharmil Doshi and Ms. Tisha, who made AAI PPM such a wonderful committee to be a part of and to report on. Of course, a special thanks to the Deputy Chief of Press and the Chief of Press, Ms. Shravya Dhula and Mr. Neek Puri. They guided me through everything. They helped me so much. Thank you so much. It was a privilege being here.
Thank you. Moving ahead, our third committee is the All India Political Parties Meet. The All India Political Parties Meet was a school committee as well. Mr. Dharmil Doshi served as the moderator, along with Ms. Kavitha Sharma as the deputy moderator. Ms. Sejal Sagarika was the scribe, and Ms. Mausam Patel was the organizing committee member. I now request Mr. Dharmil Doshi to give us an overview of All India Political Parties Meet and to announce the awards. Over to you, Dharmil.
Unfortunately, Dharmil won't be with us here today, right now. So I will be announcing the awards. But before that, I would say even though it was a school committee and it was my first time chairing as a deputy moderator, it was the students were firstly very interactive. They got quite comfortable and they spoke openly. So that because I can see like students of 8th grade, they hardly can frame or structure their words, but them being interactive was one of the best part. And moving forward with the awards, there are only 2 awards in this committee. We have the Best Member Award going to R.F. Sharma and verbal mention going to Sanjit Rajesh. Congratulations, both of you.
I request the best member to share their experience.
I think R.F. Sharma is not here with us.
Moving on to our fourth committee, we have the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly. The primary language for Maharashtra Legislative Assembly was Marathi. Ms. Nandini Shinai was the speaker, alongside Mr. Tanay Musale as the deputy speaker. Ms. Shrishti Diokar was the translator and the scribe for this committee. Mr. Yash Desai was the organizing committee member. I now request Ms. Nandini Shinai to give us an overview of the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly and to announce the awards. Over to you, Nandini.
Unfortunately, Nandini cannot join right now. So I'll be going ahead with the results for Maharashtra Legislative Assembly. First of all, a big congratulations to all the delegates of MLA because it was one of the most energetic and active committees of the NYP, and there were very fruitful debates for the 2 days. I'll be going ahead with the awards now. The verbal mentions in no particular order goes to Devendra Fadnavis, Aditya Thackeray, and Sudhir Mangatiwar. Congratulations, guys. The next is special mention, which goes to Ashok Chavan. Then high commendation goes to Ajit Pawar. And the best parliamentarian for Maharashtra Legislative Assembly is Ravi Rana. Congratulations, everyone.
I now request the best parliamentarian to share their experience.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure and privilege to be here. And before Justice Patel, Sir VP Raja, I have been participating in this conference for last 1 or 2 years. And last time I won a high commendation, but this time I won best parliamentarian. It is a moment of proud and gratitude for me. And I am very thankful to PCGT. I specifically come to this conference because this conference has this committee of Maharashtra Legislative Assembly, where we can actually discuss the problems which we see in Maharashtra. As a student, what I face and actual real problems. And I am very, very proud of this committee. And I would even last time the person who won the award, he said the same thing, that all other conferences happening wherever in country should at least have one regional committee where people could actually represent their own problems. And I'm very grateful to PCGT for having such conference. And our agenda this time was also very politically very neutral, because we had the issue of climate change, where there can be hardly any disagreements about there can be disagreements about what is to be done, how it is to be done, but the climate change is real and we have to tackle it. So that is the best part about it. Otherwise, there is a lot to say, but we have to complete this whole ceremony. And I'm grateful to PCGT, the whole all other members, and this has been a pleasure and privilege to be here. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi Rana. Our fifth committee is the Rajya Sabha. Mr. Mihir Jain served as the chairman along with Mr. Karan Nair and Ms. Tanaya Gandhi as the deputy chairman. Ms. Adila Tirumalai served as the scribe alongside Ms. Lakshmi Alve as the organizing committee member. I now request Mr. Mihir Jain to give us an overview of the Rajya Sabha and to announce the awards. Over to you, Mihir.
Thank you, Leah. Mihir is unfortunately not available right now, so I'll be going ahead along with Tanaya, the deputy chairman, and we'll be announcing the awards. Firstly, I'd like to thank PCGT for deeming me fit enough and capable enough to be a part of the organizing committee, and then deeming me capable enough to be a part and to judge the Rajya Sabha. Additionally, I'd also like to thank PCGT because they have also given me an opportunity to listen to Justice G.S. Patel speak here, which is something that I and a lot of law students all over the country always look up to. Moving towards the committee, now in the Rajya Sabha, we were simulating, which is of course an academic simulation. We were looking at the viability of public and private partnerships within our country's economic framework. And one thing that I can vouch for on behalf of the dais, the executive board, and all the parliamentarians present in the committee is that the overall understanding, the collective understanding of the concept of public and private partnerships and how they can be utilized in our country has only become more comprehensive and more holistic than it was prior to the conference. And that is something that I take as a big win on the part of the executive board, on the part of the conference, and on the part of all the parliamentarians who made up the participants for this conference. I'd not like to take any more time of the organizers, and I'd like to hand the mic over to my deputy chair, which is Tanaya Gandhi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karan. I would also like to thank PCGT for giving me this opportunity to be a deputy chair of Rajya Sabha alongside Karan and Mihir. It has been a great honor to be a deputy chair alongside such experienced executive board. As Karan well stated, that the committee was super fruitful. Everyone was well researched, and the deliberation that happened was really, really good. Without any further ado, I would be moving on towards the awards. And we have 4 verbal mentions in no particular order. The verbal mentions are to K.C. Venugopal, Kapil Sibal, and Malika Arjun Kharge and Mansukh Mandavia. Congratulations. The special mention is to Narayan Rane. Congratulations, sir. The high commendation is to Nirmala Sitharaman. Congratulations to you too. And best parliamentarian is to none other than Hardeep Singh Puri. Congratulations to all the participants and the winners. Thank you.
I now request the best parliamentarian to share their experience.
First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for organizing this brilliant MUN and Youth Parliament, because, and of course, I have one complaint. I would love to attend this offline, because online does restrict some form of communication, but despite that, for a moment, I just forgot this was an online MUN. So all thanks to the organizing committee. Then to the executive board, they are super understanding, because there were a lot of first timers, and the procedures, because from transitioning from a real Rajya Sabha, which is much more complicated, which has a huge secretariat, to a MUN style, youth parliament style, the transition had to be smooth so that we could adapt and we could go beyond the procedures and talk substantive things. And especially Mihir sir is amazing. Even the first timers, he explained with such simplicity that even I felt like even I should have been a first timer. It would have been so much better this way. We debated, we deliberated, we discussed, we disagreed. Of course, that's always there. But in the end, we acknowledged the problems that we faced. Our country is going through, our whole region is going through economic turmoil. The world has been struck by economic problems. It is only when we come up with innovative economic solutions, crossing party lines and ideological lines, will it truly benefit the nation. In this spirit, I would like to again thank PCGT and the entire organizing committee and executive board for considering me deserving enough for this recognition. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last and final committee is the Lok Sabha. Mr. Vedant Sharma served as the Speaker of Lok Sabha, along with Mr. Drishik Bahel and myself as the Deputy Speakers. Mr. Dev Kyawal served as the Scribe, along with Ms. Daksha Katkar as the Organizing Committee member. I now request Mr. Vedant Sharma to give us an overview of the Lok Sabha and announce the awards. Over to you, Vedant. I request the Deputy Speaker, Mr. Drishik, to announce the awards.
I hope I'm clearly audible.
Yes, you are.
So first of all, it was a great experience sharing with Leah and Devansh sir. I truly learned a lot in the following committee, and it was alike to the real Lok Sabha. There was a lot of debate and there were a lot of arguments, and there were a lot of arguments, but I really love the fact that we could debate on the agricultural reforms we need in the country, which has been in the limelight for the past 2 years, considering the farm bills. So first of all, I would like to announce the special mentions that are Shrikant Shinde and Farooq Abdullah. And then we have the special mention that is Mahua Moitra, and the high commendation being Hardeep Singh Puri and the best delegate being Supriya Sule.
Congratulations to the winners. I now request the best parliamentarian to share their experience.
I am very thankful and overwhelmed. It was a whole new experience, and I am actually very thankful to PCGT, its executive board, and the organization committee. When I first entered the Lok Sabha, I could not believe that I will get a prize. I was wholly new to this thing, but now that I have been awarded, it gives me a huge confidence, and I'm very happy. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ms. Supriya. Moving ahead to the second part of the awards distribution, we have the best delegation. The cash prize for the best delegation is rupees 10,000. So the first runner-up for the delegation for PCGT National Youth Parliament 2022 is St. Xavier's College. Congratulations, everyone. And now, the best delegation for PCGT National Youth Parliament 2022 is Government Law College. Congratulations, everyone. Any organization and its plans cannot function without a leader and their vision. Ms. Bianca Chetyar, the President of PCGT National Youth Parliament 2022, is a stepping stone at making this conference a fruitful experience at every level. From the cradle to the cream, she has played a vital role for PCGT National Youth Parliament. Her talents and her personality has aided her journey from being a deputy head to the president today. She is one of the most important pillars from not only ensuring the smooth functioning of the conference, but also keeping the organizing committee on their feet through all the ups and downs. She has instilled in us her leadership qualities and her positive attitude. We are glad to have you as our president, Bianca. Over to you.
Thank you, Leah, for the kind words. Good evening, respected Chief Guest, Justice Gotham Patel, the trustees and staff from Public Concern for Governance Trust, all faculty members from Praveen Gandhi College of Law, the executive board members, participants, and everyone from the organizing committee. Thank you all for being present today and making PCGT National Youth Parliament 2022 a huge success. I'd like to thank our chief guest, Justice Gautam Patel, for accepting our invitation and being with us here today. I'm sure, sir, that your presence will encourage us and students all across to organize events like this on a large scale. This year, we started working for the National Youth Parliament from August 2021. The association formed with Praveen Gandhi College of Law has been remarkable. I would like to thank the principal of Praveen Gandhi College of Law, Dr. Navashika Dwara, and the faculty in charge, Professor Kavitha Sharma, for the faith they've had in us and the support they've provided us for this and the past few editions. My journey with Public Concern for Governance Trust began when I joined the organizing committee for the National Youth Parliament as a deputy head back in 2020. Thereafter, became the vice president in the 2021 edition. And finally, today, I'm here as the president. We've been working for the National Youth Parliament for the past 11 months. During this time, the support received from the trustees of Public Concern for Governance Trust has been tremendous. I would especially like to thank Mr. VP Raja and Mr. Julio Ribeiro for being so supportive, taking time out and always helping us by sending their videos and voice notes for our campaigns. In regards to organizing a conference of this magnitude, we were posted with a lot of challenges. challenges which were expected, and challenges which were new to all of us. In spite of these hardships and challenges, with full confidence, I can now say and believe in the phrase, whatever happens, happens for the best. This has been a long journey, a demanding one, but at the end of it, it's worth everything. Nothing could have made this an outstanding journey if it was not for my organizing committee members. I would like to thank all my organizing committee members for everything they've done. That is meeting targets and deadlines, ensuring their presence and active participation in the meetings we've had. And most importantly, not only working for yourselves and your department, but working for each other and having each other's backs at all times. I would also like to thank our convener, Shivam Jain-Karia, and the chief advisor, Ishan Chitnis, for always being there and helping me whenever required. Thank you very much. When the team was formed, we had a goal in mind, that is to make this the largest edition. And today, I am exhilarated and thrilled to announce that PCGT National Youth Parliament 2022 is the largest edition we've organized till date. The legacy that the former presidents, Mihir Jain, Ishan Chitnis, and Shreya Yadav have left has inspired us to excel and always remember the reason we started organizing the National Youth Parliament. That is to not only ensure that the youth is informed, but also aware of the happenings around as responsible citizens of India. We have left no stone unturned in spreading the word across and ensuring that students attend and actively participate in simulations like this. As mentioned before, the organizing committee has played an immense role in making this edition a successful one. For the past 11 months, everything that they did and have worked has been accounted for through the Best Organizing Committee Member Award. With great delight, I announce the Best Organizing Committee Member for PCGT National Youth Parliament 2022 is Leah Montero. Congratulations, Leah. You've done an excellent job and have been a wonderful addition to the team.
Thank you.
Now, I, Bianca Chettiar, President of PCGT National Youth Parliament 2022, now declare the conference closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. It was indeed a pleasure hosting all of you parliamentarians to the 4th edition of the PCGT National Youth Parliament. I now request the chief guest, trustees of the PCGT, staff members of PCGT, faculty members of PGCL, Shivam sir, Rachna and Bianca to join the breakout room for the group photo. It would be our utmost pleasure to host all of you parliamentarians once again in our next edition, hopefully offline. Thank you very much for joining us. Take care and stay safe. Thank you.